Dengan ini dipersilakan Saudari Nur Farah binti SAFIEE daripada Fakulti Undang-Undang Universiti Islam Antarabangsa UIAM dengan tajuknya Cost of Living versus Lifestyle. Dipersilakan.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and the panel of adjudicators. First of all, apologies for referring to my speech because I've got some important statistics that I need to share with you about my topic, which is related to global impact today. I am Nur Farah binti SAFIEE, and I will be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the world in which it is almost impossible to get a healthy salad meal cheaper than any fast food. You can easily get a burger set in some famous fast food restaurant cheaper than any healthy meal you can find anywhere around. We live in a world where sometimes it feels like the vegetables in the market should be selling in a jewelry shop with the prices of tomatoes shooting high and high every day like a rocket. This has caused serious distress for breadwinners in the families in running households. Inflation is a nightmare. It is a topic that needs serious attention from everyone, not just our local, but it is a global issue. The cost of living today has a global impact on many countries. The last 2 years' events have put the global economy in a vulnerable position. Many nations have already been struggling to adapt to the economic effects of number one, the endemic, which comes after the pandemic season that we've been struggling with, that we've struggled and still struggling from. All the attention and space on the newspaper headlines. And number three, Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, which made the economic matters even worse. These days, a combination of events, including worsening economic conditions, mounting debt, and rising food and fuel prices, people, have been labeled the largest cost of living crisis of the 21st century. Regardless of how the situation is worldwide, growing expenses tend to have greatest impact on lower income countries, ordinary people being plunged into poverty for the impact of lower income countries. And this balloons the profits of a handful of corporations. Many middle-class families' budgets are mostly devoted to fuel and food. Just these two things, fuel and food, and all over again. Which makes inflation harder to ignore. Many emerging countries like this have long-term debt and inadequate management, which leaves government unable to provide for their citizens, and it eventually promotes the cycle of hunger, poverty, and chaos altogether, or any one of it, as a result of cost of living issues. According to the United Nations Development Programme, the UNDP, the countries facing the worst effects of the crisis are America, Uzbekistan in Central Asia, Burkina Faso, Ghana, Kenya, Rwanda, and Sudan in Sub-Saharan Africa. Also followed by Pakistan and Sri Lanka in the Southeast Asia countries. However, even in the most developed countries, people are going without food. We can find people in the streets, even in Malaysia. We have poverty issue even in Malaysia. All this as a result of cost of living issues. So addressing the global impact of this huge crisis is, in fact, true that poverty is a global crisis affecting many people's livelihoods, which is as a result of increasing life expenses. Again, panel. Around the world, the greatest impact has been felt in prices of food. For example, in Sri Lanka, food inflation led to major protests sparked by the country's economic problems, which was the cause of removal of the president, reaching a percentage of 90% in August 2022, making even basic foods like rice hard to get. The story is the same everywhere. More misery for the poor and more profit for the rich. Approximately 1 million people were forced into deep poverty every 33 hours through 2022. For 150 million individuals, hunger has become an everyday norm and reality of their life. There was probably going to be one hunger-related death in Somalia every 36 seconds. In countries like Ethiopia and also Kenya, this is also acute hunger was more widespread in Somalia than it was during the famine season in 2011. In India, homelessness is arising as an impact of cost of living issues. Many people are turning to the streets as a place to sleep and find income by performing hard labor. Children are the most vulnerable group of people who has been suffering as the impact of cost of living issue. In Bangladesh, there are a total of 3.6 billion unemployed people as the inflation rate hits high now. These people are real fighters, managing and shrinking their expenses as low as possible and leaving their country away for the sake of making a better life, creating a better life for their families from another country. Moving on to the solutions to the cost of living issues now, promoting equality is the only solution to this problem. To assist us towards getting there, here are 5 steps in order to provide direct financial assistance and public services to the weakest members of society. First, a progressive tax of 2 or 5% on personal wealth beyond $5 billion or ringgit, which is an unnecessary fortune, could create 2.5 trillion profit and help 2.3 billion people who are a real victim of this issue. Second, expanding public services to support people and minimize the need for markets to supply necessities. For example, in Spain, for anyone purchasing a multi-trip ticket, rail travel over distances up to 400 kilometers will be free for 3 months. And this has been adopted by the federal government from a similar strategy. And in Germany, it offered €9 monthly for public transport, which was allocated to the public to ease their cost of living. Third, limits on commodity speculations must be reinstated, since the underprivileged shouldn't be forced to pay for their bill for the bets of bankers. Taxes and regulations must be used to break down monopoly, and more aggressive actions needs to be taken against implicit as well as explicit forms of price collusions. For example, in an effort to protect consumers better, the Indian government has promised tax breakers on petrol and necessities while also limiting the export of wheat and sugar in their country, just so that the prices of these 2 important ingredients to make households doesn't go up and up. Fourthly, we need targeted price controls. Why? Even though targeted price controls regulations are unpopular with politicians and some economists, because this interferes with the profit income and they are necessary. So why are they necessary? Because this is particularly crucial when there are scarce resources, since it creates an opportunity for profiteers to take advantage of this current situation. Fifth, the debt cancellation approach. This is urgent in order to save lives. It is incredibly unfair that private lenders like banks and hedge funds continue to make large profits while millions of people need healthcare and financial assistance. It is necessary that England and New York enact new laws to stop a small number of uncooperative creditors from obstructing these transactions. And why? Because the US and UK are vital in the situation because they are the global debt, they hold the largest global contracts for debts, and these are kept in the city of London and Wall Street. There are alternative ways countries can show support towards their citizens. For example, firstly, President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya has raised the minimum salary by 12% per month. And therefore, by increasing minimum wage for employees, it eventually offers a solution for rising life expenses because it gives them more space to support for their life expenses. By this way, even Malaysian government has adopted the same method by increasing the minimum wage up to 1,500 ringgit, which has brought benefits to many people. Second example, by Minister Nicola Sturgeon of Scotland, who has announced plans to freeze rent in order to assist citizens in coping with the growing expenses in their country for things like food, electricity. So how does this help? Freezing certain life expenses like rent allows more room to deal with other expenses like savings. The way the government in Scotland gets to support their people to deal with this issue we are discussing today, I believe all other countries can make such efforts to make the life of their citizens better and much happier and worth living. With all that have been said, I end my speech here. Thank you for listening.